personal records week. It's team records week, and there are a ton of them this week. There are more this week than I can remember over the last few years. So we're going to go over several of these. Now, a couple caveats here. Make sure when you're looking up this information that you are verifying it. I've seen a couple articles
Yes.
where the wrong incentives are out there. There was one about a certain tight end, and the guy had miscalculated how many yards he needed and what yards he was at. So do your research before you just blindly throw your money at this. And I will also say we have a 5% play that is up now, and all of our final props based on the contracts and incentives will be attached to that 5% play. So rest assured, we will do all of our due diligence and everything. But here are some that really piqued my interest, and these are gettable, and I'm excited to bet these. So I'm going to start with Jamal Williams here to score at least one touchdown and possibly two touchdowns. So there is a chance that this Detroit Lions game is meaningless to the Lions as far as playoffs. So you need to make sure
scheduling.
Yeah. So here's the deal with Jamal Williams. He is one touchdown away from tying Barry Sanders. And if he gets two touchdowns, he breaks Barry Sanders for the single season rushing touchdown record. He was quoted as saying, quote, "Barry, I'm coming for you." And this coach is a players friendly coach. And Jamal Williams is absolutely loved on that team. We saw the video in preseason of him, crying about how passionate he was. So this game could be for a playoff spot for the Lions. But if it's meaningless, look for the Lions to get all of their players as many incentives and records as possible. Jamal Williams to score one touchdown is going to be probably a little bit juicy, but two touchdowns to break the Lions single season record, I'm all in. You're probably going to get that at plus money. And Jamal Williams is number 2 in red zone touches in the NFL this year anyway. This is one of my favorite plays. As soon as the touchdown props come out, we're going to take Jamal Williams to score here. You mentioned Gerald Everett here, Prez. There's actually 2 Chargers that I have my eyes on. If the Ravens lose to the Bengals, the Chargers lock in the 5th seed, and they may be playing for nothing. And Brandon Staley has said he's going to be resting his starters, probably Justin Herbert. However, if you have guys like Gerald Everett and DeAndre Carter, and the game doesn't really mean anything to you, these are really easy incentives to get your players. Gerald Everett has 5 receptions or more in 50% of his games. He gets $250,000 bonus. This would be real easy to put him out there in a meaningless game and get him 5 or 6, pretty easy catches. The other guy, DeAndre Carter, he's got several bonuses. Check this out. 2 receptions gets him $250,000. 55 more yards gets him $500,000. And if he somehow gets 2 more touchdown passes, that would get him another $500,000. It's a long shot, but DeAndre Carter is looking at over $1 million in incentives. So if you're looking at the Chargers and you see that the Ravens have lost, and this game doesn't mean anything for playoff standings, I think DeAndre Carter and Gerald Everett go past some of these. The 2 touchdowns is tough, but for Carter to get 2 receptions and 55 yards, especially if they're going to be sitting Keenan Allen and Mike Williams and probably Austin Eckler, those are going to be great props to take advantage of. We talked about some of the.
Go ahead. Just real quick, Andy. Let me jump in. I got to ask you about Everett. In particular, because if LA rests starters, sits guys, whatever, is Everett even going to play? Is he going to play a full game? Because you said, it's easy to get 5 receptions. To me, you can get a guy 2 catches. You're not getting a guy 5 catches if you're trying to keep him healthy for next week. Is that real?
Absolutely. It is a little bit of the roll of the dice. There is no guarantee he's going to go out there and get it, especially if the game is meaningless. However, I want to see what the props are going to be. And Teddy, what do you always say? Read the quotes. Let's see if we can get some quotes from the coach. Listen, quotes are really important this week. Sidebar, Ron Rivera said, "I am well aware of the records and the incentives for my team." So look for Washington if you can find incentives there. So if we see that Staley is going to sit a bunch of his starters and Everett is not one of them, I think we can read between the lines and go ahead and take him. So these are not going to be plays that I put in now. These are going to be, day of when we see certain scenarios. pull out. But yeah, Teddy, your your thing about read the quotes, so important this week to see what teams are going to do.
Yeah.
So
I think we'll be reading. I think that was the last Ron Rivera quote you might ever read. Andy, keep going.
That's probably true. A couple of sack props. Don't forget about your defensive props. Zadarius Smith, he just needs one sack. They've got a pretty easy, nice little layup with Nathan Peterman at quarterback. He needs one sack, get him 250,000. And then, Perez, you mentioned him. Carl Lawson needs a sack. That's a meaningless game for the Jets, but it looks like Skylar Thompson is going to be at quarterback. So surely they figure out a way to get Carl Lawson a sack. So there are a ton of these incentives and bonus props. This could be one of the most profitable weeks of the year if we can find our spots. All of my official incentives and bonus props will be attached to the 5% play. So encourage everybody to get that. And just make sure you keep notifications on because these player props will be coming out throughout the weekend. So it's a great way to take advantage of the last week. It's a very different way to look at the props. This has been a very profitable week in the past. So, contract and season records incentive week. Very exciting.